Hello, welcome to Loremaster's Lair. I'm your Loremaster, here today for another trip across the Pact Worlds system. Slowly going at it from both ends apparently, but anyway, today we continue our march by looking at the fourth planet from the Sun, Akiton, the planet known as the Red. With that said, let's get started. Akiton has always been a harsh world. The majority of the planet is covered in a desert rich in iron, giving the planet its distinctive color. The planet was shaped by ancient oceans, but now only mountains and dry seabeds remain, though one can still see to this day massive sea fossils on the side of some canyons. Likewise are the people hardened to survive in these landscapes. Just around every corner they do not have time to discriminate. And cities are likely made up of various of the planet's species working together. With the rise of space travel as we move forward in time, Akiton became a boomtown while mining for one of the many components for sub-lightspeed travel, Thastron. The planet became rich, or the big business owners became rich while oppressing the people. You know how it goes. But as we all know, the god Triune rose and introduced drift travel to the galaxy, which broke the back of sublight travel overnight and take the stocks of Thastron with it. And just like that, Akiton was back to being the wasteland it has always been. Maybe even more so, now with so much of the planet owned by robber barons, intent on squeezing as much money as they can out of their property. Akiton is home to a total of 5 intelligent species of note. Native intelligent species, you know what I meant. The first are Ysoki, said to have descended from humans in the distant past. However, the time on Akiton has made them a distinct creature, complete with red skin to match much of the other creatures on the planet. Likewise, the Shabhods, sorry about that, are red, farm giants who are one of the creatures most thought of when considering the planet. Even in the future, they still prefer having a nomadic lifestyle as opposed to settling down in any of the newfangled cities. Then, there are Ysoki, all friends of rat folk. They who are from an unknown origin and have spread throughout different worlds. Them living on both Golarion and Akiton since time immemorial. Which brings us to our first side tangent, the part of the show where I go through all the effort to take us to a different world, only to appear back on Golarion. As said, Ysoki live on Golarion, and this video is for both Pathfinder and Starfinder, so let's take this opportunity to explore the different ethnicities known to live on Golarion. The Ysoki many Golarions think of when they think of rat folk are the Drumish Dashers, the quick-witted ones found across the markets and caravans of Katapesh and Druma. However, the Inner Sea region has several more. The tech-loving Numerian Tinkerers, the large but agile Ufin Leapers, and the isolationists known as the Belkson Creepers. In Kazmirun, the grass seas are full of Ysoki, and down south in Vudra, there are 3 distinct ethnicities which we barely get any information on. One day. In Tianxi, the Minatan skimmers live in barge cities, and hardly ever take dry land. The Goka Leapers are known to safely travel through the Wall of Heaven and Shagwan with their distinct hop step. And the Digu Don Underminers are known for both being living in the region's dark land, as well as being the strongest worshippers of Lu Xiaopo, the god known as Grandmother Rat. Continuing on with our count, we have the Ikashti. A casual observation will compare them to red lizard folks. However, the truth of their differences is clear with observations, especially with the circumstances of their mating. During their adolescence, they start rutting and becoming determined to find a mate. This leads to 3 different paths. When they do find a mate, they lay a clutch of eggs and then, afterwards, fight to the death. If the male wins, they become a broodminder and seek to train not just their children, but all children who are strong, to ensure that they grow into strong adults. If the female wins, she becomes a congregate, whose drive becomes the success of its Akashti society as a whole. And if they fail to mate to begin with, eventually they will become violent, neo-mindless creatures known as Riveners. Finally, the 5th of the species, we have the Contemplatives of Ashok. Long ago, these creatures gave up their bodies, leaving only their minds and the minimum body they needed attached to the brainstem. They are literally the world's greatest minds, and they spend much of their time exploring realities of this world, far beyond most other creatures' understanding. But while we are on the Contemplatives, let's look at side tangent 2, Ashok. What is Ashok? Well, it's a location in Akiton. We will see it on the map later. But more than that, there are other theories of what the name originally came from, potentially being the namesake for the former town which is now Crater. Some say Ashok was the founder of the Contemplatives, the one who took them down the path to eventually becoming the brains they are today. It is debated as a philosophy, an eventual endpoint to be gained, though many argue what the correct path is. Regardless, Ashok is a part of a Contemplative's identity, and trying to at least understand it is a way to become quick allies with them. Now let's look at the map, shall we? One of the most important places on the planet is, or was, the large former sea basin known as the Deep, which, because of how vast and rich it was, it earned the new nickname, the Golden Basin. There are many towns in this area that have become ghost towns with the industry drying up, but they still stand and some even have as many as 100 people still living in them. Not far off from the basin, one can find the junkyard known as the Kefak Depot, which makes a business out of having tourists explore the centuries of scrap metal. One more, a bit far to the south, but which fits more here than anywhere else, is Ashok, a large crater which is said the Contemplatives originally had their hometown right under it. Meteors, man. Traveling further west, we find ourselves at Bounty, the only place on the planet which still maintains lush greenery after the planet became the desert we know today, which is, of course, longer than any creature can remember. Around it to the south, we have Ka, the Pillar of the Sky, the largest volcano on the planet. Those who climb all the way to the top are said to come back changed, and it's considered a sacred place to the Shahads. Both on the lower surface of Ka, as well as going into its lava tubes, is the planet's largest marketplace, the Hive Market. Turning back a bit east, which ends up back due south of Bounty, we will find the Shears, the largest of many, many fighting schools on a planet which makes much of its money now from Colosseum fights. And to the north of Bounty, on the Al-Khalai Plateau, stands Al, home both to Tyrant, who is the closest thing to ruler of the world, which is referred to as the Ferak, as well as the Historical District, having some of the oldest architecture in the solar system. Which brings us to a third side tangent. In addition to the above, all is also home to the monastery known as the Kilda Memorial Center for Personal Enrichment. This is a Kellestrad monastery, offering those on the poor and destitute planet various tips on how to make money and become financial tyrants, for a small fee, of course. With each level of membership, they gain access to more knowledge of how to become financially successful, eventually evolving to teach the practices of the prophecies of Kellestrad. The temple has come under criticism of pyramid schemes and predatory membership fees, but has gotten out of it because, well, they are Kellestrads. What was anyone expecting? Going west even more, we eventually reach another large crater, the Iron Sea. Here, the only major city that I can make note of is the only major city of the Ikashtis, which is named Dal Dawat. And it's one of the major places they go to try to find a mate. Around the opposite bank is where one will find the Hall of Reason, the main location of the studies of contemplatives. At least on Akiton, they go wherever universities can be found. Also not far from here is where one will find the Vatari Tech research sites, which were set up to try to develop new technologies to advance the planet after the Thassaron bust, no matter how unethical they have to go to find those technologies. Next, south of the Iron Sea, we find the Dust One, a place where a sea of loose sand is constantly moving as if for waves. There are also many cities in this area. First, the area known as Pau, the heart of the land, is an area of a decent level of shrubland, where the Shahads take turns raiding each other for control of the grazing. Daza is a city poisoned by its unique fusion arcane and technological powered power plant, whose leaking chemicals cause severe mutations. Needless to say, many have come to the city for the explicit purpose of receiving the blessing of these mutations. Finally, Morrow is further north, built into the side of the gigantic Idaho Rift, and is known for its fashion and nightlife. Now, on both extremes of the planet, we have the Winterlands. Sometimes in the planet's distant past, all of the planet's water moved to its two poles and has stayed there ever since. There are a few cities right on the edge of each. In the north, Gantim, which is another group of Ikashites, who have managed to find a way to stave off transforming into Riveners due to their religious beliefs, or the radiation in the area, hard to tell. To the south, Estar, a city which is the main proponent of the ice industry on the planet, which on a desert planet is, of course, important. And a few more locations which we don't have a specific location for on the map. The big one is Five Times Fortress. One of the many sky fortresses controlled throughout the ages, this one was made by Ysoki Tyrant and is now a tourist trap owned by the Nakop Ysoki family. The family itself is interesting because they hid rich sometime during the gap. Some claim the patriarch of the family discovered a lost treasure, but the only information we have is the supposed name and location, Nakop Rich Pick. And now, to end things off, a look at Side Tangent 4, a place known as the Maze of the Open Road. This series of pearls was given to the Pathfinder Society 200 years ago, growing on the grounds of the Galton Woodshed Lodge. Of course, having hidden a chain of portals becomes important to Pathfinder survival when the revolution struck, and even more so as the lodge is continued to be maintained even to this day. The maze is connected to various important places, including the Grand Lodge in Absalom, the more recently constructed Lodge of the Open Road in the Maragna Expanse, and of course, Akiton. You didn't think I went that far off topic, did you? The Akiton Pole goes to the central pyramid of all, with anyone who enters through the pyramid, ergo the portal, is instantly proclaimed the new Tanakh. Whether this be good or, because of memories of not so humane Tanakhs, bad, might depend on the mood of the citizens. Which brings us to the end of today's episode. Slowly getting these done, but probably will not be until this time next year for me to finish up with Pact Worlds. But either way, next week we have Goth to talk about, and one definitely who has no power outside of Golarion. See you then.